What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another Season 7 breakdown video. I just finished watching Episode 5 once again and there is a lot to discuss, so let's just get right into it. This episode begins with Bronn dragging this sad lump of shit out of the water, because Jaime thought he could end the war with a single blow like many men have tried to do before. But boy oh boy was he sadly mistaken when Drogon turned around and lit a fire up under his ass. I knew Bronn was going to be able to save him because Bronn doesn't wear heavy armor, so he could easily swim in just a leather jacket, but I thought we would at least see Bronn taking off Jaime's armor in order to get him out. But apparently Bronn is a lot stronger than I thought. And I'm going to tell you all right now, if Bronn doesn't get compensated for his efforts very soon, he will be switching sides and teaming back up with Tyrion. Later in this episode, we learn that Bronn and Tyrion are already in communication with each other, so I won't be surprised if Bronn hightails it out of King's Landing before the next time the Lannisters have to face Daenerys and her dragons. He already said he was going to leave before Daenerys attacks King's Landing, but I believe he will leave way before that. Tyrion and Bronn have always been a much better duo in my opinion. Speaking of Tyrion, he could use a friend right now. I liked how they shot this next scene with Tyrion walking through the battlefield. It's a harsh reality when you can see just how devastating a dragon can be. I bet Tyrion can actually smell the charred bodies as he walks through this graveyard of mostly Lannister and Tarly men. Tyrion is obviously shaken up and not pleased with the way this war is going. He is afraid Jaime may receive the same fate, and as of right now, he wasn't even entirely sure if Jaime was still alive. Not until he actually starts communicating with Bronn and later meets with Jaime. Tyrion is afraid Daenerys is going to end up burning everyone and everything in sight, and there won't be much of a kingdom left if this continues, but Daenerys was left with little else of a choice. She has already taken too many losses in my opinion, so I don't blame her for using the dragons at all. In fact, I would have brought all 3 dragons to make sure no one made it off of that battlefield alive. It's kind of an unfair advantage right now because Daenerys has to play by all these rules while Cersei is doing whatever the hell she wants. But Daenerys does give the survivors a chance to bend the knee and swear fealty to her, which most of them do out of fear of being burned alive, but Randyll and Dickon do not. Randyll Tarly was not about to swear fealty to a foreign invader led by an army of savages. Randyll sees the Dothraki no different than the Wildlings, and we all know how he felt about the Wildlings when he met Gilly. He said he was going to stand behind Cersei because at least she was born in Westeros, but so was Daenerys. Daenerys was born on Dragonstone, although she didn't really grow up there. Randyll was also disgusted by Tyrion because he said he murdered his own father, but Randyll's decision got his own son killed. Now I know Dickon made the decision on his own, but you saw what kind of man Randyll was. You know he already had it ingrained in Dickon's head to be the same kind of man that he was. That's the same reason why Sam Tarly was sent to the wall, because he wasn't just like him. Randyll should have bent the knee to at least save his son's life, but that's just my opinion. In the next scene, Jaime reveals the truth to Cersei about Joffrey's death. This whole time, Cersei has blamed Tyrion and Sansa for his death, but Jaime makes her realize Olenna was telling the truth about being the one who poisoned him. Cersei finally puts the pieces together. Oh yeah, it would have been easier for Olenna and Marjorie to have more power if Joffrey was out of the way. That's right, Cersei, you were raising a little monster that no one loved but you. Cersei is furious about this, and Jaime tries to explain that there is no way in hell they're going to win this war against 3 dragons, but Cersei did what we all knew she would do. The only way you're going to get Cersei off the throne is if you pry it from her cold dead fingers, but that's not going to be easy. The Lannisters did just lose the battle, but they haven't lost the war just yet. The Tyrell gold did make it back to King's Landing. Cersei will be able to use that gold to hire an army of mercenaries to go head-on against Daenerys and her soldiers. Cersei will also be able to open up a new line of credit with the Iron Bank, and she may be telling Qyburn very soon to have some more anti-dragon weapons made. Daenerys may want to start thinking about having some armor made for her dragons, or else this could get pretty ugly. I'm just hoping Daenerys can put Cersei out of her misery before the army of the dead make it south of the wall. Back on Dragonstone, Daenerys returns home from the battle and we finally see Jon physically interact with one of the dragons. Daenerys does her best to flex her muscles in front of Jon, but he stood his ground. Tormund said Jon had a small penis, but his balls must be made out of Valyrian steel, because this would have been terrifying. Thanks to Jon's Targaryen blood, he was able to bond with Drogon and pet him. This was a pretty cool scene, I thought, and it was kind of emotional. Daenerys and Jon have no idea that they're actually related, and you could see Daenerys watching Jon with a curious look on her face. She had to have been wondering how the hell Jon was able to do this. I think it kind of turned Daenerys on, and you know these two are going to end up hooking up, it's just a matter of time. But what I'm wondering now is if we're ever going to see Jon actually ride a dragon of his own. Imagine if we had 2 dragon riders taking them into battle. I think that would be absolutely incredible looking. Before this scene ends, Ser Jorah Mormont arrives, and I must say, he did look pretty damn healthy. It was nice to see Daenerys be able to finally fully embrace Jorah now that he's returned. She must be pretty confident that Jorah is cured because she reached right in there and gave him a big ass hug. But did you notice that look Jorah gave to Jon when he arrived? You could tell Jorah knew there was some kind of attraction between Jon and Daenerys. Jorah must be thinking, oh no, not again. I like having Jorah back though, and I like that he will be helping Jon. The Mormonts and the Starks seem right together in my opinion. I hope Jon can help Jorah repair his relationship with the rest of House Mormont. That way Jorah can be fully embraced by his own family again. Jorah did receive his pardon, but his family still hasn't forgave him for selling poachers into slavery and making House Mormont just look bad. After Jon and Jorah return from beyond the wall, I think they will be able to smooth things over again since Jorah is helping the king in this dangerous mission. I thought this next scene with Bran Stark was really cool. Bran is out at the weirwood tree in the Godswood and he warged into a flock of ravens, and he sends them over Eastwatch and out far beyond the wall. Bran could see the army of the dead is now mobilized and they are heading south. I thought Bran could have been a little bit more subtle about this. He should have just sent one raven and had it fly up high in the sky, that way the Night King wouldn't be able to see him or sense him. But when Bran comes swooping in down low with an entire flock over the army, the Night King knows exactly what is going on. And I thought this was kind of trippy. The connection between Bran and the Night King is so strong right now. When the Night King looks at the ravens, the birds basically explode and fly away, and Bran snaps out of the warging. There were 2 different ways I was actually looking at this when I saw this scene. The Night King may have made those ravens stop flying through his mental ability, or Bran got scared when he saw the Night King look up at him, and Bran's own fear made him snap out of it. Either way, Bran is terrified of the Night King ever since he grabbed him during the vision. Bran knows exactly how powerful the Night King is with his own mind, because Bran is still learning how to harness his own power, so as of right now, the Night King still has him beat. I did notice something interesting here though. If you look at the rock platform the Night King is sitting on with the other White Walkers, it looks like the same rock platform Jon and company are running towards in the preview trailer. I think the Night King knows they are coming and he's going to set out a trap for Jon and his friends, but I could be wrong, but it does look like the same rock formation. Anyways, Bran has Maester Walcan send out ravens and notify everyone that the dead are marching on the wall. The Citadel receives theirs immediately, but everyone is still skeptical about dead things actually being reanimated and headed to Westeros. Sam knows that if he could get the help from all the Maesters, they could find something, anything in the library that can be of use during the long night. Something that can stop the Night King for good, but unfortunately the Maesters have the same mindset of nearly everyone else in Westeros. Only those who have been beyond the wall know what lies out there. This does kind of force Jon's hand into going out there and getting proof on his own, since nobody wants to send any men up north, because their help is needed now before the wall is actually breached. You don't want to wait until it's too late and you have dead men walking in your backyard. But I fear that by the time Jon is able to show everybody that the threat is real, the Night King will already be closing in on Winterfell, because that will definitely be one of the Night King's big targets he wants to hit first. The Maesters did say something interesting as Sam was walking out of his room. As they were mocking him, one of them made a joke about how people used to say the Drowned God would defeat Aegon the Conqueror. Now that sounds like it may just be a throwaway line, but it could also be some kind of foreshadowing. Obviously, Euron Greyjoy is connected to the Drowned God, and Daenerys is connected to Aegon the Conqueror. If this does end up being some kind of foreshadowing, then that doesn't sound too good for Daenerys, but we shall see. Jon gets word that Bran and Arya are alive, after he receives the Raven Scroll that sneaky-ass Varys decided to read for himself before Jon could. I got my eye on you, Varys, and I don't really trust him, especially after Melisandre said he would die in his country. If anyone is the mole right now, I think it would be Varys. He may start to think Daenerys isn't best for the realm now that she's burning people alive. If Tyrion can help get her to listen, Varys will switch sides once again, if he hasn't already. But Bran tells Jon that the dead are coming, and since no one wants to help, Jon and his team must go get proof by capturing the White, and bring it back to show everyone that the threat is real. But no one believes Cersei is even going to be willing to meet with them without setting them up. So Tyrion decides he wants Davos to smuggle him into King's Landing so he can meet with Jaime in private. And I thought this was a bad idea on Tyrion's behalf. Did he really think he was going to be able to get into King's Landing without being spotted? I mean, he is the most famous dwarf in all the lands. Now, I know Gendry ended up saving him from being arrested, but he was lucky, very lucky he wasn't caught and then killed. I think he should have asked Bronn to get Jaime to come to a much safer spot to meet. but the mission was complete, so it really doesn't matter anyway. Back in Winterfell, the North is no longer remembering once again. Lord Glover and Lord Royce already want Jon removed from his position as king. Now, Bran would be the true heir to Winterfell since he is the last living legitimate male Stark, but Bran wants nothing to do with it, and since Bran doesn't have a problem with Jon being the king, then these men need to respect his decision. I completely understand they don't trust a Targaryen, but your king is making a decision and putting his own life in danger to try and save everyone else in the realm. Whatever happened to loyalty? But I was very happy that Sansa actually spoke up and said Jon was the king, and I absolutely love that Arya is looking out for Jon too. Arya isn't about to let anybody pull a fast one while Jon is gone. Their bond has never broken. But Arya can see that Sansa is playing both sides right now, because if Jon doesn't come back for whatever reason, then Sansa will need men on her side. That's why she didn't lash out at Lord Glover and Royce. Arya knows that Sansa is thinking this, and Arya learned this little trick during her training at the House of Black and White. She learned how to read people and know if they're lying. Arya can tell that Sansa isn't fully committed to all of Jon's decisions, but Arya will see to it that she gets in line. In the next scene, Davos and Tyrion arrive at King's Landing, and Davos seems to be taking his son's death rather well. Now, I know it did happen a long time ago, and Davos and Tyrion need to play nice since they are working together, but you'd think Davos would have shown a little bit more emotion when talking to the man that killed his son during the Battle of Blackwater Bay. Tyrion meets with Jaime, and I have to say it was nice seeing them share a scene together once again. But Jaime is pissing me off. I know he loves his sister, but damn, I just wish Jaime would snap out of it before it's too late and Cersei ends up getting him killed. Jaime knows he's fighting for a losing side, but he can't let go of his sister. Jaime is still angry at Tyrion for killing their father, and he wasn't in the mood for Tyrion trying to justify why he did it, although Jaime knows exactly why. The scene cuts out, but Tyrion was beginning to tell Jaime about the Night King and the army of the dead heading to Westeros. Jaime probably won't believe Tyrion either, because if you remember back in Season 1, when Jaime met Jon for the first time, he made it very clear how he felt about the Night's Watch, so I don't think he's going to be believing a word any of them say. But there is someone in King's Landing who is more than ready to help, and it's our favorite blacksmith Gendry, who has been laying low in King's Landing this whole time making weapons for the Lannisters. Kind of ironic, isn't it? But I love that Gendry was embracing his Baratheon roots. He made his own badass warhammer, similar to what his father used to carry. I thought it was kind of funny though, because Gendry needed to stay under the radar, but when he walked out of his shop, he just had that big ass warhammer right in his hand, as if nothing was gonna happen, with the big stag sigil right on the side of it. You would think he would have at least covered it up a little bit and not have been so blatant about it. It's not until he gets to the boat that he's actually worried about someone seeing the hammer that looks awfully similar to what his father used to carry. Robert Baratheon swung a hammer just as good as other men could swing a sword, and it's obvious that talent is running through Gendry's veins because he bashes into heads of two gold cloaks like they were watermelons. Gendry will make a very nice addition to Jon's team. Now we just have to sit around and wait for Gendry and Arya's reunion. And while we wait for that reunion, we will continue to get more twincest with Jaime and Cersei. Cersei has no plans of backing down now that she's pregnant, and Jaime seems fully committed to her for the time being. Cersei has weaved her web around Jaime once again, and until he can get out from under her thumb, Jaime won't be betraying her anytime soon. But as I have stated before, Cersei will have a miscarriage because she can no longer have children. Thank the old gods and the new. We don't need another Joffrey running around now, do we? Cersei did suggest to Jaime that they should punish Bronn, but let's be serious here. Bronn saved Jaime's life several times during that battle. Jaime is not going to be punishing Bronn. But, like I said earlier in this video, I think Bronn's going to be switching sides. I really did like this next scene though. Jon and Gendry meet for the first time and they instantly connect like their fathers have before. Although Ned is not Jon's real father, but he does act a lot like him. I have a feeling I'm really going to like this Jon and Gendry dynamic. It's nice to see this new generation of Starks and Baratheons paving the way for the future. I just hope Jon and/or Daenerys legitimize Gendry, that way he can carry on the Baratheon name, now that the house is pretty much extinct in the show. I thought it was kind of funny that Gendry said his father and Jon's father trusted each other, so they should trust each other. But neither one of them have no idea that Jon's father is actually Rhaegar Targaryen, and Gendry's father, Robert, actually killed Jon's father. But I'm also hoping that one day Gendry will use his blacksmithing skills to forge some new weapons for the war. And hopefully after the war is over, maybe he could even reforge ice and give it back to House Stark. I think that would be very poetic in a way, especially if he did that and he gave it to Arya. Jon, Davos, Jorah, and Gendry then prepare to sail to Eastwatch by the sea, but before they leave, Dany sorta admits she likes having Jon around. But we already knew that. It was pretty damn obvious Daenerys was scared when Jon said he wanted to go in the first place. When Jon said he wanted to go capture the White, you could tell she was very afraid that Jon may never come back again. Daenerys is really starting to fall in love for her nephew, and things could get gross pretty soon, unless you're into that sort of thing. We get a pretty damn big bombshell in the next scene. Gilly is reading in Maester's old journal and she comes across a record of an annulment by a Prince Rhaegar. She actually mispronounced his name, and it says he remarried to someone else in Dorne, which is where Rhaegar and Lyanna were at. So now it's pretty much confirmed, Rhaegar and Elia Martell were no longer married, then Rhaegar married Lyanna Stark before she had Jon Snow. So Jon Snow is actually a legitimate Targaryen. This entire time he's been living his life as a bastard, but he's actually been royalty from the start. But the sad thing about it, Sam wasn't even paying attention to Gilly when she said this, but Sam wouldn't have known anyway because he has no idea who Jon's mom is. But with this information combined with what Bran saw at the Tower of Joy, they could put the pieces together and break this news to Jon. And I think Jon's going to be speechless when he finds this out. The North is already starting to speak out against Jon, so when they find out he's a Targaryen, I can see this becoming a real problem. I don't think Arya or Bran are going to have an issue with this, but Sansa might. And Lord Glover and Royce definitely will, but this revelation won't come out until Season 8. So I'm not going to go too far down this road right now, but Littlefinger is already at work, setting his plan in motion. Arya knows he's up to something, but Littlefinger is so sneaky he's actually tricking her. Arya has the skills of the Faceless Men, yet Littlefinger knows exactly what she is doing and he sets a trap for her. And he plants an old-ass letter Sansa signed several seasons ago. Cersei forced Sansa to write her brother Robb Stark and tell him to swear fealty to Joffrey, back when Ned Stark was their prisoner. Littlefinger thinks Arya, seeing this, she will continue to believe Sansa is trying to overthrow Jon as King of the North. And it looks even worse when Arya sees Littlefinger talking to Lord Glover and Jon Royce, who were the same men she saw speaking out against Jon earlier during the meeting. Arya has no idea she's actually being played right now, but it's going to be bad news for Littlefinger when she does. Bran gave Arya that dagger for a reason, and you could tell Bran knew something when he handed it over to her, just by the way he looked at her when he gave it to her. The only problem is, we just have to hope Arya is able to realize this and realize she's being played before she does something drastic to Sansa over this letter. Things are really starting to shake up in the North now. Littlefucker is back to work, doing what he does best. Our last scene of this episode is at Eastwatch by the sea, and I thought this shot of the wall looked really cool, although it was all CGI, but I really like being able to see the edge of the wall, and to know this is where the Night King is going to strike first and make it south. I also love seeing all these characters together who all have a history with one another, but now they're going to have to put all their problems in the past and work together. One of my favorite things about Game of Thrones is when my favorite characters start to cross paths and share screen time and dialogue together, especially when they reference things about the past. Jon remembered seeing the Hound at Winterfell all the way back in the first episode, and Jon has no idea that the Hound actually has a connection with Arya. Jon also has no idea that Gendry and the Brotherhood have a connection with Arya too, so it's going to be really cool when this actually gets revealed. Even Thoros of Myr and Jorah Mormont fought together during the Siege of Pike. It's going to be fun to see those two guys fighting together once again. I can already tell this next episode is going to be one of my favorites of all time. I'm a fan of all these characters individually, so I can't wait to see their journey together out beyond the wall, and when they inevitably run into the army of the dead. Some of these men have no idea what they are about to run into, but we all know how this is going to end, but I don't want to talk about that here and now because I want to keep this review spoiler free. But feel free to discuss whatever you'd like down in the comments. I want to start working on the preview trailer breakdown video now. I thought the preview trailer for episode 6 might be the best preview trailer I've ever seen. That episode looks absolutely incredible. But before I go, I want to thank you all for stopping by and watching today's video. I really do appreciate that. And I also want to thank all the new Patreon supporters as well. All the love you show really means a lot to me. I hope you all have a good day, and I'll see you down in the comment section. Bye.